only way that you will fit in with, people or the crowd, or fit in with people that you may want to get to know, is just by being yourself. I think it's really hard to be yourself, really be myself, because it feels like a constant need to perform. But the reality is that, you never really need to perform. You just need to be. And even now, I'm getting like used to more of just being and not performing who I am, and just being who I am. Um, you constantly want like, a connection with people, or you might want that connection with like a very specific person. So you almost kind of force it in a way, like you kind of force the connection, which ultimately just ruins it more, because instead of being the person that you actually are while you're performing, all you're doing is just not being yourself. And when you're not being yourself, you're not being you. You're not being that authentic person, you know. And it is hard to be authentic because, you don't want your authentic self to be rejected, or you don't want the person who you actually are to be rejected. But being rejected isn't ultimately a bad thing. It's just you just don't fit with that person, or fit with this group of people, or something like that. But it's not ultimately a bad thing, though. I think sometimes it just takes another person to say it. Like, just because one person doesn't want to be around you, or doesn't want to have a connection with you, doesn't mean there's something wrong with who you are. You just don't mesh with that person specifically, which is cool, because you're not gonna mesh with everybody you meet. You might meet like maybe like 100,000 people or something like that in your life. You might build an acquaintanceship with like half of that. You might be friends with half of that, and you might be close friends with like a very small quarter of that, which results to like 5 to like 20 people that you end up being really close with in your life. And then by the time you hit like maybe your 30s or 40s or something like that, you only have like less than like 3 close friends. And if that, like, you might only have like one close friend or something like that. Or maybe you have like 2 or 3 people that know a lot about you. But, just because somebody else kind of rejected that person doesn't mean that there's something wrong with you, though. It's just the way the world works. The game's the game. But you shouldn't minimize yourself to gain friends either. You should just be, you know, just be. Just stand up for yourself in certain situations. Just have a good connection with yourself, and just understand who you are. And even that's kind of hard too, like understanding who you are, but like understanding your own boundaries when it comes to certain things, or when it comes to how people treat you, or when it comes to what people say to you and things like that too. Mm, but yeah, don't minimize, don't dilute yourself. Yeah, just just be just be yourself. That's all you got to do. And then at some point, you know, the people you're cool with, like, they'll stick around. Like, you wouldn't have to force anybody to stick around you. They'll just stick because they're being themselves, and they see that you're being yourself. Or maybe they won't see you being yourself, but they'll see you being, and they're like, okay, this is somebody that I want to be cool with. This is somebody I want to be friends with and connect with. I relate to this person and all that. But yeah, just be yourself. That's all I got. Be breezy.